I don't really come on the internet, but this mass shooting shit in Stockton has really got me so fucked up. So first of all, being invited there, I mean, it was a wonderful party, but I just don't feel like the news is just being honest. Being in there and not knowing whether you gonna make it out. And here's the thing, like, you're having a gas.
On November 29th, 2025, a 2-year-old's birthday party in Stockton, California turned into one of the deadliest mass shootings the city has ever seen. 4 people were killed, including 2 8-year-old girls. 17 others were injured. And here's what makes this even more chilling. Nearly a week later, no one has been arrested. The shooters are still out there. But before we go any further, if you're new to shadow crime, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Click the bell icon so you never miss an update on cases like this one, because we're going to be following this story closely. Trust me, you're going to want to stay updated on this one. Now, let me paint you a picture of what happened that night. Around 100 to 150 people packed into a banquet hall on Lucile Avenue. Families, kids running around, balloons, cake. It was supposed to be a celebration. Just after 6 in the evening, gunfire erupted. Multiple shooters, according to what investigators believe. And in those terrifying moments, 4 lives were stolen. Maya Lupian, only 8 years old. Journey Rose Rio Tutor Guerrero, also 8. Amari Peterson, 14. And Susano Archuleta, 21. Gone. Just like that. 17 others were wounded. And at least one person was still fighting for their life in critical condition days later. You'd think with that many people in one room, someone would have seen something, right? Someone would have gotten a good look at the shooters. But here's where things get complicated, and honestly, a little frustrating. Sheriff Patrick Withrow came out and said something that caught a lot of people's attention. He said that many witnesses claimed they didn't see anything. Now, I get it. When bullets start flying, you're not thinking about getting a description. You're thinking about survival. You're protecting your kids. You're hitting the floor. The sheriff even acknowledged this, saying people were focused on staying alive, not on memorizing faces. But with over 100 people there, it's hard to believe nobody saw anything useful. And the sheriff's office has made it pretty clear they're frustrated too. They've been practically begging people to come forward with information. They've emphasized that tips can be given anonymously. No names, no questions asked, just information. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the eyewitness accounts we do have, they're all over the place. One witness, the father of 14-year-old Amari Peterson, one of the victims, he described seeing a lone gunman, just one, wearing a face mask, firing multiple shots. He said it looked like the shooter was aiming at a rapper who was performing at the party. So in his account, this wasn't random. This was targeted. Someone specific was the intended victim. But then you got another witness, a man named Billy Williams. And his story focuses on something completely different. Something that's raising questions about how law enforcement handled the scene.
Okay, so I don't really come on the internet, but this mass shooting shit in Stockton has really got me so fucked up. So first of all, being invited there, I mean, it was a wonderful party. But I just don't feel like the news is just being honest. Being in there and not knowing whether you gonna make it out. And here's the thing, like, you're having a gathering, you done had a couple of drinks and stuff, so you don't really process what's going on, okay? So shots rang out. At first you think it's like balloons or whatever, and then all of a sudden you realize the second round of shots that's coming in, these ain't no normal guns. Like, they in here lighting shit the fuck up. And it was an open, like, banquet hall, so there is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. You don't know whether you... And I remember thinking that, like, we ain't finna make it out this my kids. Bro, there was so many dead bodies, bro. The news is not being honest. They're not being honest. It was the kids for me. It was the kids. My daughter was doing CPR on that little boy who died. She said his dad kept asking, is he gone? I couldn't even imagine not coming back home with my motherfucking kids. Like, I've never seen so many fucking dead bodies, lifeless bodies. I don't know. I know for a fact I saw like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old girl, and she was lifeless. I ain't hear the news say nothing about that. I was helping my daughter tie up people's legs. They have been shot in the legs. There was another dead body on the back porch, and he was all twisted up. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to motherfucking hide. And like, when it was going on, like, I remember I was thinking smart, thinking, well, where would you stand, and where would you, be? Because you couldn't tell if they was in the building shooting or where they was. All you knew is that these was not some fucking ordinary ass guns. It wasn't. And so, I don't know. I just remember helping get people to the ambulance, but this is, of course, after it was over, while it was going on. You did not know. My biggest thing right now is picturing if it would have been, not questioning God, but why he spared me and my children. Because the bullets, they ain't got no name on them. And it could have been anybody. And I was swimming in blood. And then I looked down, I was like, is this beans or blood? It was both. And I think...
Billy Williams said that when police arrived, they took their time getting into the building. And here's what really stuck with him. He said the officers didn't run to the kids. Instead, they were still pointing their guns, being tactical, being cautious. And Billy felt like they wouldn't listen when he was trying to tell them that children were dying inside. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Imagine you're at a birthday party. You hear gunshots. Kids are screaming. People are bleeding. And when help finally arrives, you feel like they're not moving fast enough. You're watching children take their last breaths, and you're trying to get officers to understand the urgency. But in that moment, it feels like they're not hearing you. I'm not saying the police did anything wrong here. Active shooter situations are incredibly complex. Officers have to clear the scene, make sure the shooters aren't still inside, protect themselves so they can actually help people. But you can understand Billy's frustration, can't you? When every second counts and you're watching kids die, those procedures probably feel like they're taking forever. This is the reality of what people at that party experienced. And it explains why getting clear, consistent witness statements has been such a challenge. Everyone was traumatized. Everyone saw something different. Everyone was focused on different things. But the authorities need answers. They need someone to break their silence. And they're willing to pay for it. Remember when I mentioned earlier that no arrests have been made? Well, law enforcement is pulling out all the stops to change that. The reward money for information leading to an arrest has skyrocketed. And I mean skyrocketed. It started at $75,000. That's already a significant amount, right? But as days passed with no arrests, they kept adding to it. The FBI threw in $50,000. The ATF added $20,000. Stockton Crime Stoppers put up $55,000, which included $10,000 from the mayor herself, Christina Fugazi, and $5,000 from a council member. Even the Youth Peace and Justice Foundation contributed $5,000. When you add it all up, we're talking about $130,000. Let that sink in. $130,000 for information that leads to an arrest. And here's something important that makes this reward different from others you might have heard about. Crime Stoppers specifically said you don't need a conviction to get their portion of the money. Usually, reward money requires a person to be convicted in court. That can take months, even years. But in this case, if your tip leads to an arrest, you could get paid. That's how desperate they are for information. Think about what that tells us. It tells us that either people genuinely don't know who did this, or people know and they're too scared to talk. In communities where gang violence exists, and yes, there have been questions about whether the shooting was gang-related, snitching can get you killed. It's not just about being reluctant. It's about survival. The district attorney, Ron Freitas, actually called this gang gun violence. But then the mayor made a similar claim and had to walk it back. Even Sheriff Withrow has been careful, saying the gang connection may be accurate or it may not be. They genuinely don't know yet. So we got conflicting official statements, witnesses who aren't coming forward, and a community that's terrified. But in the middle of all this darkness, something unexpected happened. Something that shows how far the ripples of this tragedy have spread. A Nigerian singer, a Grammy-winning artist named Burna Boy, heard about this shooting all the way across the world. He was listening to Breakfast Club, a popular radio show, and they were talking about what happened in Stockton. And when he heard about those two 8-year-old girls, Maya and Journey, when he heard about 14-year-old Amari and 21-year-old Susano, something broke inside him. Now, Burna Boy has no connection to Stockton. He's never been there as far as we know. He didn't know these families, but he reached out anyway. He contacted a music executive named Whack 100, who then connected him with Stockton's vice mayor, Jason Lee. And Burna Boy made an offer that honestly brought a lot of people to tears. He said he would cover the funeral costs for all 4 victims. All of them. Think about what funerals cost. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars per person. Caskets, burial plots, services, everything. These families are already dealing with unimaginable grief. They're planning funerals for children, for a young man who barely got to experience life. And now they don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for it. Burna Boy said his heart broke when he heard the story. He said no family should ever have to face this kind of pain alone, and he wanted to do whatever he could to support these parents as they begin what he called the long process of healing. And honestly, that gesture matters more than people might realize, because it's not just about the money. It's about someone on the other side of the world saying, I see you. Your pain matters. Your children mattered. And I'm going to make sure they're laid to rest with dignity. But here's where we are right now, as of December 7th. The shooters are still out there. The investigation is still active. That $130,000 reward is still on the table. And somewhere in Stockton, someone knows something. Maybe they saw who pulled the trigger. Maybe they heard someone bragging about it afterward. Maybe they know why this party was targeted. If it really was targeted like investigators believe, maybe they're scared. Maybe they're conflicted. Maybe they're reading this right now. And this brings me to the questions that keep me up at night about this case. The psychological weight of what's happening here. What does it do to a community when a 2-year-old's birthday party becomes a crime scene? When children can't even celebrate without fear? When 150 people witness something horrific and either can't or won't talk about what they saw? And here's the bigger question. What does it say about us as a society when someone would open fire into a room full of kids? What level of rage, of callousness, of complete disregard for human life does that take? Were those children just collateral damage to whoever did this? Or did the shooters not even care that kids were there? Think about the person who knows something right now, but hasn't come forward. What's going through their mind? Are they weighing $130,000 against their own safety? Are they thinking about those 4 families burying their loved ones? Are they wrestling with their conscience every single night? Because here's the truth. Justice only happens when people are brave enough to speak up. Those shooters are counting on silence. They're counting on fear. They're betting that nobody will risk everything to turn them in. But somebody needs to, for families are destroyed. 17 people are physically recovering, but will probably never emotionally heal from what they witnessed. A community is traumatized, and until someone talks, those responsible are free to potentially do this again. If you know something, if you heard something, if you suspect something, call Stockton Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous. That $130,000 could change your life. But more importantly, your information could bring justice for Maya, for Journey, for Amari, for Susano. And for those of you watching Shadow Crime right now, keep following this case with us. Share this video. Get the word out. Sometimes these cases break because the right person sees the right piece of information at the right time. Hit that like button if you want us to keep covering this story. Drop a comment telling us what you think happened here. And subscribe because we're not letting this case go cold. We'll be here with every update until those shooters are behind bars. This is Shadow Crime, and we'll see you in the next one.